I'd like to call the Tuesday, September 21st Board of Public Works and Safety meeting to order. It is 9:03 a.m. and Pledge of Allegiance, Member Kosher.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Public comment. Anybody from the public would like to speak? Anybody social media wise?
Not yet, no.
Clerk Treasurer, claims approval.
We have several payrolls. First one is from 9/17/2021 in the amount of $417,594.11.
I move we approve the payroll.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
We have a couple special pays. One is for 9/17/2021 McDonald, in the amount of $882.90.
I move we approve the payroll.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. It's a lot of hamburgers. All in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Special pay Maroni, 9/14/2021, in the amount of $2,053.96.
I move we approve the special payroll.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
I'm trying to be loud, too.
Motion passes 3-0.
We have civil city claims in the amount of $417,992.14.
I move we approve the civil city claims.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
We have water claims in the amount of $174,981.64.
I move we approve the water claims.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Finally, we have sewage claims in the amount of $675,863.55.
I move we approve the sewage claims.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you, Clerk Treasurer Parthune.
Thank you.
Trash service removal request.
So Evie's Coffee House at 1107 Indiana Avenue is requesting that the Board of Works approve to remove their trash service. Included on the trash removal service request form, you will see that they do already have a service agreement with Waste Management set up, and that's what's required per our ordinance. It's just requesting that Evie's Coffee House is removed from trash services, and their charges for the removal will be taken off of their utility bill.
Do I have a
Please.
motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Do we know they're doing their own service or
It's connected, the
Waste
Waste
Management.
Management, yes,
with
sir.
waste? Okay. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you, Clerk Treasurer Parthune. I've somewhere lost my agenda. May I borrow yours? New business. We're moving department heads. I'm gonna move those up so we can get those that need to leave can do so. So please be brief and to the point, and we'll start with Jeff Batchelor, Code Enforcement.
Good morning. We're about 3,800 violations for the year. And then also, I think Mayor talked about it, in the first part of the month, I gave a little lecture to accelerated Indiana municipalities, and it was to the council members throughout the state. And one of them reached out to me over in Portage, John Soroki. He's the code enforcement officer. So I went over there last week, and we spent about 2 hours just talking about their problems and some of the stuff that we did to help them. So, I mean, it was a good learning experience for both of us. So that's all I have.
Also, nice work. We see improvement there on the east side, all across from Al's with the fence going up and the semi removing with that property there right next or behind City Electric.
Yeah, it was the vehicles that he's putting up his fence, and there's also one down farther on the street where they're putting up fences blocking the used vehicles and junk vehicles that's out there too.
So, good work. Jess Bruder, Communications.
Good morning. I don't have much to report today. I just want to say thank you again to Edward Jones for being the sponsor for Friday night's event. I think it went pretty well, and then be on the lookout for another one in October. That's all I got.
Thank you. Beth West, Transport.
Not much to report. We are down 2 drivers due to COVID. I have 1 driver that should be coming back by the end of this week. He is feeling a lot better. The second one was due to the fact of the weekly testing. She came back positive. So we'll be down with her for 2 weeks. And we're just juggling schedules to make sure we have enough drivers to cover our very increased transportation. We've been running about 150 to 160 calls a day now, so.
Questions? David Heinhold, Planning.
David Heinold, City Planner. Not much to update as far as today is the deadline for the Board of Zoning Appeals, which we've received a couple applications there. That'll be on October 12th, and then we have Historic Preservation Commission tonight. Got a couple of applications for some structural additions to a house on Indiana Avenue. Later, we'll have an update on the Don George building at the next Board of Works meeting. And then that's working on redevelopment commission stuff for next week, Wednesday. Other than that, that's it.
And just as a reminder to the board tonight, education and promotion is the focus for the HPC. Perfect. Thank you. Jen Knoll, Human Resources.
Good morning, Board. This month and into next, we're just working on open enrollment items for health insurance and voluntary insurance programs. That'll be in the month of November, and then we are scheduling our annual health screenings for employees in the month of October. So that's what we're working on right now.
Questions? 2 for 1 today with LEAP, Lindsey Johnkind and Eric Nelson. Come on up.
First of all, I just want to say that Jess Bruder did a great job on Friday night with Harvest Moon. Tons of people, and it was just great to see everyone downtown. Saturday, we had Sunflower Fair and Night on the Ave. For Sunflower Fair, we had 98 artisan vendors. We had 15 food vendors signed up. 1 did break down on the side of the road, so they weren't able to come. The canvas bags and T-shirts were a hit. And the best thing was people didn't want to leave at 4 o'clock. We had to actually scoot people out, so it was a really great event. Night on the Ave, we estimate about 400 to 500 people were there, enjoying the beer garden, enjoying the food vendors and the band. So it was a really, really great weekend.
Great work to all of you. You did fantastic. It was a great weekend.
Good morning, everybody. Eric Nelson, Workforce Development Coordinator. Just want to come here today and kind of give a little bit of an update. I've just started, this is the beginning of my 3rd week now, so still getting up and running, but had a bit of success this past week. I met with one of our local businesses, just the first of many, and also met with some administration for Westville schools. And just with those two meetings last week, was able to find a student at Westville who's an AK Smith for welding. In this particular business I met with last week, they're looking for a welder. So got connected with them, going out to a meeting tomorrow with the student's going to be there at the business. I'm going to be there as well, and as well as his teacher, who's their work-based learning coordinator. So just good to see, some stuff working right out of the bat. And like I said, got a lot more meetings planned with our businesses and some other surrounding schools in the area. So, yep, that's it.
Eric, that's great. I mean, you've only been on a couple weeks, and that's the connection we're looking for. And again, thanks to How Met for their grant. And then we have a meeting coming up with the Monroe Manor as we've dialed into who's really working, who's not, and what are the issues that are keeping us from working. And we're really focused on females from age 20 to 60 in Monroe Manor. And we're excited next Friday, correct?
Thursday.
Next Thursday, 11 to 1.
Yes, sir. Yep.
So keep up the good work, both of you.
Thank you.
Tim Warner?
Good morning and thank you. The Water Department is proud to announce that Peerless is on site this morning drilling our test wells out in Soldier Memorial Park. They'll be working on the one furthest west of the property. It'll take about 2 or 3 days for them to drill, set the screen and grout it all in. Then we'll start our pump test. Then they'll move down to the site just east of the boat launch. So we're hoping by the beginning of next week, both of those wells are, test wells are flowing. That way we can get the data we need to make sure that the sites are favorable for production wells. The other thing the Water Department's working on is a main extension down Ohio Street to connect to the backside of Whispering Meadows. There's about 550 foot of main that we're going to install in-house. Waiting for the design to come back so we can apply to IDEM for our NOI. That takes about 30 days. So we're hoping to start construction the beginning of November to finish that project up. Lastly, next Board of Works meeting, I'll be announcing fall flushing dates for our biennial hydrant flushings for the year. So we're just trying to work around holidays and people's vacations because it's about 3.5 week process for those guys to work at night. So we just hopefully get it in before it gets too cold.
How long's the test run for the wells?
So the first one will be a 24-hour pump test. It'll run for 24 hours just to see where it's at. And then we've also requested a 72-hour pump test. Just make sure we're not under the influence of lake water in that area and have, check ammonia levels and stuff like that. We want really good readings for these wells. We're going to put a lot of money in that well field, and we don't want any surprises.
Jerry Jackson, wastewater.
Monroe Manor, construction's ongoing. No big issues there. We did get news that they're set. They were planning to bring in a second crew, and that's not going to happen. So they're going to kind of push the end of the construction season this year, but they're going to get everything under asphalt for things to get cold. So we've been assured that, and they've submitted a new schedule. The Truesdale lift station, they're serving the banks, is scheduled for startup on Monday. That's been a long time coming. The control panel and we still haven't got the control panel arrived last week, and they got it installed this week. And the generator is still not here, but we can start up the lift station without the generator. So when the generator shows up, that'll complete the job.
Dick Middick, engineering.
18th Street's been a lot slower than we had hoped, but kind of hopefully moved over one of the biggest hurdles yesterday. Frontier was on site to do kind of the first half of their relocations. That's kind of what's been holding up the project to this point, is we get some utilities that just couldn't get out of the way. So about half that was done, and I hope the second half is done here within the next couple days, and then Ruth Riley can pick up a little bit more. Then also, we have a north-south corridor project management team towards the end of the month, so a lot of work going into that project, kind of behind the scenes, getting ready for the next round of public involvement. So,
And you've also been meeting with commissioners and council members.
anybody, and especially commissioners and council members. So.
And I just want to remind everybody, this was a county-led project at the beginning, so Nick is going above and beyond, and we welcome anybody that wants to learn more about it, and hopefully the council, the remaining part of the members of the council will engage and ask to know how their project's going, that you're kind of taking the leadership on.
Yeah.
So you will meet with anybody.
I will meet with anybody.
It's always nice, I know the city gets blamed as if no one's talking to them, but it's their project, you're doing the work, and you've met with many of them.
Yes.
Nick Otis, legal?
I think the only thing I had, not so much legal, but I believe we got a finalized date for fall cleanup. Annette, is that correct? We have a week for fall cleanup?
Yes, the 18th to the 22nd of October.
I know we work,
That's on your regular garbage day.
I'm sorry, what day is that?
The 18th through the 22nd of October on your regular garbage day.
So the fall cleanup will be the 18th of October through the 22nd of October on your normal pickup day. And then Nick, just as one, or Attorney Otis, one more, we have had a complaint filed from the Indiana, Illinois, Iowa,
Foundation for Fair Contracting. So I believe it was last year, the city council passed the responsible bidding ordinance, and we've received these from time to time, and what we will do is review the bids and make sure that obviously they comply with our responsible bidding ordinance.
so will you meet with
Right, so what we'll have.
Jackson and Nick?
Yeah, right. So what we'll have to do is look at the bids and then look at our ordinance and make sure that, and I believe this specific complaint was towards one of the contractors. Look at their specific bid and see if we need additional information or if they've already complied. It is with a contractor we've worked with previously, and I think on part of this project, if I recall correctly. Is that right, Jerry?
They just did Lakeside project for us.
That's what this is, because this is regarding the Lakeside sewer relocation, so we'll make sure you
Well-
receive.
The letter that was passed out, Jerry, is that a typo?
I missed that it mentioned Lakeside. I assume this was the current bids concerning McClung.
I think that's what it is, Jerry. I bet that they didn't change the title of the letter, because I think we received the same complaint when Selge did this previous project.
So this is for the McClung Street, and I think,
Judging by the communications that Mr. Minnick and I have had with them, I think that's what it is.
and I believe you have one of your members beginning to review that.
Yeah.
Correct.
So,
When is that up? Will we be accepting that at the next?
We
We got the bids last meeting.
Right.
And have a bid tabulation today for the board. And I can talk about that now if you want.
well, let's wait, and we'll just bring this up at that time.
Okay, all right.
So, because what action is required on our part at this time, right? Because it looks like it's just for documentation of a graduation from their apprenticeship program?
Correct, right. So, again, the council passes the responsible bidder ordinance. You're obligated to follow that. I mean, there's exceptions, but I guess our departments will work to make sure that these bids comply with that ordinance, so.
Once this Board of Works approves the bid, it will go before legal. It'll go, after today, it'll go before legal to make sure they're meeting all requirements.
Correct.
Are there two complaints, though? Because they're saying that they kept the same project title, so are
Yeah,
there two
I think that-
complaints for McClung
I'm
and Lakeside?
No. I'm speculating a little bit. Lakeside's already done, and we dealt with this complaint from the same organization regarding Selge previously. And I think Selge complied with everything, was my recollection.
They provided additional documentation last time.
Yep.
So when we get to that point, we'll approve and then take it to legal.
Subject to compliance
whoever
with
that
your,
is.
the responsible bidder ordinance, correct?
Okay.
And you're prepared to make a recommendation today?
Yes.
Mike Frey, Streets?
We are going cleaning up Lake Street over there, right across from the water department. Stump removal and tree removal.
If you haven't driven by Lake Street, you guys have done a great job. As we've talked about, we need to clean up. We're asking everybody else to clean up. We have to clean up our properties as well and get some use out of that. So again, thank you for doing that. Chief Breton, Police?
We currently have 0 out with COVID, so that's a plus. We did have a promotion for the vacancy from Corporal Toth. Promoted Josh Leinhardt to Corporal, who is assigned to Drug Task Force and will remain there as a detective. And also, we have a conditional offer of employment out for Corporal Toth's replacement as well. Just waiting for results. Hopefully by the second meeting in October, we'll be doing a swear-in.
Chief Snyder?
We also have no one out currently at this time in COVID-related items, so that's a good thing. Also to announce, we will be having our open house, our annual open house on October 2nd, Saturday, October 2nd. That kicks off Fire Safety Week from 10 to 2 at Station 1.
Mark Schreiber, Parks?
Morning. Just wanted to bring, well, I'm sure some residents have already seen it, but give a little update on Kiwanis Teledyne Park. We have heavy machinery on site now. This is a project that's been in the works for a while. We're going to construct a glacial seawall there, kind of combat a erosion issue that we've been having for several years on the lake. After that's constructed, we'll naturalize it with some native plantings. While we're doing that, we will also be doing dredging of the inlet, the stormwater collection pond there, so it'll be functioning right. So definitely want to thank Port County Soil and Water Conservation District. They obtained the Clean Water Indiana grant that's helping to pay for the seawall, and then the LaPorte County MS4 is contributing funds for the dredging. So definitely a team project between city and county to get that park back in shape, but it will be under construction here. Probably a 2 to 3 week project total, so just want to make sure the public's aware that they'll be seeing some construction, and just be careful in that area. So,
Mark, we get a lot of calls about the seaweed cleanup. Who's responsible, if you can clarify for the public?
As far as the seaweed that washes ashore, or the seaweed that's actually in the lake?
In the lake.
Okay.
And ashore, both.
Yeah,
actually.
so obviously one of the big issues we've been dealing with is a large amount now of native species as far as the aquatic weeds that have been growing up. In the past, we've been dealing primarily with Eurasian milfoil, which is a invasive. The state allows us to treat that. The LaPorte Area Lake Association, specifically with Pine and Stone, the park department in the city with Clear Lake. But if it's a native species, which is what we have now, there's not much the DNR will allow happen to that. So obviously over a heavy summer of boating, a very hot summer where the weeds came up, there's a lot of chopped seaweed that's kind of floating around out there. If it does float to ashore in park areas, we do make every effort to try and get that cleaned up. Obviously, if it's getting into people's private docks and everything like that, it obviously falls upon the homeowner to kind of clean up their own area. So the best thing we can hope for is a winter where we get a nice cold winter with a nice thick ice formation on the lake. That'll help kill it off. But if we don't and we get another hot summer, unfortunately, it's just something that we've been dealing with. I would encourage people to contact the Department of Natural Resources to voice their frustrations. But we do know that the chances of them allowing us to do any of the treatments or anything like that is practically zero. So
So a couple so correct me if I'm wrong, but really one of the upsides in all of this is that our lakes are so clear. The water is so incredibly clear and clean that, that of course, there's more sunlight that gets down deeper into the water as opposed to lakes that are, murkier. So there's, the plus side of that, and that of course, promotes more weed growth, but
Right.
And also I think the biodiversity in our lakes is tremendous. I think I've heard that the DNR feels like we really have jewels of lakes from the standpoint of that biodiversity, right? It's a
Right,
scientific, right, and biological, but pretty cool. But the downside is,
Yeah,
we have more weeds.
it's kind of that conflicting thing. We do have that biodiversity. That's something that the Department of Natural Resources is going to protect because they are native to that lake. They do belong in that lake. Conversely, boaters aren't going to like it. And especially when it's a hot summer, the lake levels are lower. The weeds, they're going to come up higher. It's just the way the cycle works. And we all want to be living the lake life, but they are beautiful, pristine lakes. They say the same thing for Stone Lake, one of the more pristine in-city lakes that you're going to find in the state of Indiana. But it is a frustration, to say the least. So there are opportunities for homeowners to treat the areas around their docks. If they do have a problem with the aquatic vegetation causing them problems with egress, they can treat a small amount of square footage around their own personal docks. But as far as a full lake treatment, again, we basically eradicated, it's always going to be there, but we've really knocked down the Eurasian milfoil. It's just like anything else in your lawn. Once you get rid of one weed, it opens up a spot, something else is going to grow into it, and what's grown into it now is these native aquatic weeds.
We haven't taken any lake water out, haven't done level control since last year when this dry weather started, so.
Yeah. The lower lake level obviously contributes to it as well.
Sure. Thank you, Mark.
Certainly.
All right, any department heads that do not have business in front of the Board of Works may enjoy walking out and leaving. New business, request for use 7th Street auction. I believe we have Annette Leffler coming to the mic.
This is kind of a last-minute request. They found that they've got more things for their auction than they can accommodate on the property. I think that it was, like I said, it was very last minute. They're, on their original, they have a map, I think I included with you, and they also had some statements from the neighbors that they're on board with the closing of the street for several hours on Saturday morning. There is a certificate of insurance. I just couldn't print it. It just wouldn't allow me to print it, so I do have it on file.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Anybody from the police, fire, streets have an issue? No. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes 3-0. Thank you. Nick Otis, letter of intent to purchase real estate.
Yes, before you today is a letter of intent to purchase real estate for the site 709 Maple Street right here on this block. The proposed, or the letter of intent was prepared by Maple Commons LLC, and I believe Tommy Berry is here today as well. For that, if you'll recall, meeting or two ago, you approved the statutorily the posting of this to sell to an adjacent property owner, and there's a process for that. This is a very small parcel. It's about 1/10 of an acre. The city previously tore down, I think, 3 apartments that were, I think you could have got the department heads up here to push those buildings over. They were in pretty rough shape. The idea is that Maple Commons is going to turn what is currently 709 Maple, incorporate that into parking for the big apartment building at 701 Maple, and then take down the house as well adjacent to that. So asking for your approval to accept this and allow the city to execute necessary documents to close on the sale of 709 Maple.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. I don't know if Mr. Berry would like to speak to this. Please.
Thank you, Board. I really appreciate
Just on a good note, a very excellent note, is we are ahead of schedule on the construction of 701 Maple. It's been a fantastic opportunity with union representation, WBE representation, local contractors. It's been an amazing experience, and I'd just like to say on a quick shout out that the Sunflower Festival was amazing. My wife loved it. Thank you.
Mr. Berry, so what, we talked about it a little bit, but I don't know, the city's really heard from you. So how many units was 701 Maples, like 42?
It was 46 units, and we're taking it down to 38, and we're increasing. Fantastic opportunity. What we did is we created a 2-bedroom, 2-bath with den master suite, where we combined a 1-bedroom and a studio. It's fantastic. It's 1,000 square feet right on the corners of the building, and that's what dropped down our unit counts. Makes it far more livable environment. And now we're looking at, near almost a 1-to-1 ratio in terms of parking to service the structure. So no, it's fantastic. And like I said about January, we're renting. We do have a website. It is maplecommons.com. It is a work in progress, but we're out there, and we're already receiving requests.
And is your entity behind the Lowe's Point as well? Is that?
Yes, I am. That would be Lowe's Point LLC, and I am a member of that. That's also going right on track and schedule, working with Mr. Horseman of Horseman Design Studios, who's done work for the city of LaPorte in terms of the architecture and city planning. He's completed the design development phase. We're going towards permit documents and working with the structural and MEP engineers. And I hope to have a permit in hand about January, and I'd like to start going out to bid about late October, early November.
Great.
Well, I'll tell you what, and we said it last night at the council meeting, it's been a long year and a half. If we look back a year ago, and, police were, I think, 265 police calls in 250 days. And I'm going to guess in the last 90 days at least, how many police calls? 0?
Yeah, to there, yeah.
Basically 0.
Well,
Basically 0 to there. So we're excited to see this continue and to see the homes come down. I know this one here on Michigan has been sale for 6 years. But
At least currently, almost 2 years currently, but it was for sale before then.
yes, so it's been, people have had the opportunity to buy that up to now. No one has taken that offer, so we're excited to see those be removed and turn this into a positive situation for our community.
With respect to 807 Michigan, what I would like to say is it does have a nice paint job on the outside, but the structural integrity on the inside and the dilapidation of the joists, the structural foundation, it's really gotten to a point where it does need to be removed, and a vision for a future streetscape along Michigan, adjacent to the parking lot, would be nice to consider.
Well, I think you're working with us too to have some additional parking for the city. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. We've allocated, is it 5 or 6?
I think 6.
12? It is 6, yes.
Yeah. We'll have a conversation about that.
Thank you, Mr. Very.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
So I do have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Mr. Otis with Mr. Ficus.
Thank you, and I believe Mr. Ficus is here. So just a bit of background on this. What is being requested by Mitch Ficus Builders is a modification of the system development charges. And when I say modification, though, I want to be clear, he's not asking for a reduction of what they would pay. It's a timing of when those fees would be paid. And pursuant to our water and sewage ordinances for system development fees, the Board of Public Works does have the ability to modify this. So again, I think Mitch can do a very good job of explaining what he's asking for, but it's just a matter of timing, because he does have a very large development, and what his proposal will help him with is he's not paying all the system development charges up front. He's paying them as he's building the houses effectively. So I'll let him speak.
So do I have a motion to approve? And we have member Romine that'll have to abstain based on a professional relationship with Mr. Ficus. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I will second that, and discussion. And one of the things that Mr. Ficus and I have had conversation about is he is basically the only one right now that is developing neighborhoods. So he's putting in the infrastructure of roads, water, wastewater. And if we're gonna grow to 30 by 30, and not only with Mr. Ficus, but other builders, all we're asking for is instead of at the time of tap fee, that at the time of permit fee, he pays the system development fees, because that could be sometime out in the future. If he has to do it for tap fees, it could take a couple years before he pulls a permit fee. So, and I'm also going to say he is not a fair weather fan, and I appreciate that he's wearing his Purdue shirt to come here.
You got 3 Purdue grads up there, so, you know, what can I do?
So, Mr. Ficus, any further clarification?
No, that's it. I mean, since the inception of system development fees, I have always paid them, and everybody else has always paid them when you pulled the permit. You know, that's what the past practice has been. So all this is doing is memorializing the past practice.
And, Mr. Ficus, obviously Whispering Meadows is already very large. You're adding on to the subdivision, is that correct?
That is correct.
What's the total, I guess, the future plan at this point?
Well, currently, we're adding 16 lots, and we're connecting to Isle Street. So you have a throughway through the subdivision. And we have about 120 units built right now, and we expect another 100 in that development.
Wow.
So,
Thank you for all the work that you've done for the city with this construction. And again, this only applies to those builders and developers that are looking to put a new neighborhood in. So they're looking to
Well,
commit
this only
to the
applies to
construction.
this development right
Correct.
now, but I think what you're saying is setting a precedent that other builders could come and make a request similar to this.
Absolutely. We want to start setting this as we want to grow, so.
So with this, then, I mean, do we need to reevaluate, you know, our other policies to maybe adjust them? If this is the precedent we'd like to set, then we probably should take a look at those policies to make sure that they align with the direction we're going.
So I think there could be a discussion about when those fees are paid. Mayor Dermody asked me about modifying the ordinances, and I guess my response to him is the ordinances allow your board a lot of leeway to modify these things project to project, and I think that's probably the best way to go, because I was trying to just mentally work through, well, how many homes is a subdivision, or what level of investment, and I think here we know what Whispering Meadows is and what he's going to continue to do there, and I think this makes a lot of sense. But what if a developer comes and says, I'm going to build a 4-house subdivision? Well, that's different than what's being built here, and I think I see that shaking heads over there. I like the leeway that this ordinance gives your board, and right now we only have one person building a subdivision, so you know, I don't think we're going to have 10 all at once. So I don't know if any of the department heads over there have a comment to that.
I feel this is my responsibility. This has always been paid this way in the past. When I took over last year, I kind of went through the ordinances, and it had to be approved by you guys for me to allow him to pay those fees at the time of a building permit. So I think I'm the one that brought this to light. I was just trying to follow the ordinance, and he does need special approval from the board to be able to pay those later. Going back, trying to find that approval in the past, we could not find it, so I felt it was probably best to bring it up to you guys, to the board again, just to move this forward. Nobody's against paying these at the time of building permit. We're just trying to follow the rules at that time.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can see it's a reasonable approach to do it that way. I mean, it would be different, as you said, if there's a new development that we have no sort of history of following, history of evaluating the follow-through on it, whereas here we do. So we can kind of see evidence of that. So I mean, I think it seems a reasonable approach to me.
Yep.
So I do have a motion and a second. Member Romine will abstain. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 2-0. Thank you, Mitch.
boiler up.
Boiler up. And it was good, you know, this process also allowed us to find that, you know, we're very competitive in the construction business, that comparing Valparaiso, Michigan City, our costs are less. So thank you for allowing us to find that out as well.
I think how they categorize them is just different, but ultimately we are
Yes.
less, right? I think what they
Yes.
call the fees are different, but yeah, that's certainly true. But hopefully, Mayor, right, 30 by 30, we have a lot more developers coming and wanting special exceptions, right?
We hope we have a list of them, so, but, you know, we don't say enough to our hometown builder, Mr. Ficus, and thank you for what you've done for the city on the southeast side. So Amanda, there you go. You can check that out as a story, what Mr. Ficus is doing. Chief Breton, retirement letter.
It'd actually be a resignation letter. Patrolman Kyle Lovekin, I believe he's right about 6 years. His last day will be September 30th, and I also asked permission to allow the Merit Commission to look forward to filling that position.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. I'd like to thank Officer Lovekin for his service here in LaPorte and wish him well on his journey. And we will continue to fill and increase staff with law enforcement. So all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. David Heinold.
David Heinold, just have the grant agreement for the Indiana Trails Program with the Department of Natural Resources. This grant is seeking the signing from the mayor electronically to submit to the state. It's a grant for the amount of $240,000 to complete 1.1 miles of trail to complete around Stone Lake. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them, but.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Now, this is the trail, this is the money we've already been granted, and just if you could clarify the trail where these dollars will be used.
Yeah, so the trail will be connecting from the parking lot off of Waverly all the way towards the beach house where the existing trail connects.
The parking lot at Waverly.
So the parking lot at Waverly, that's gravel
Okay.
for Pine Lake, and by the channel over there, and then it'll go through the woods there, past the Cummings Lodge, and then along the beach towards the beach house and the existing trail that.
So
is
it'll
on
go on the beach
Lakeshore.
side?
Yeah, it goes along the road.
Further discussion?
Will that,
Lake Shore.
so will this cover the full cost
Yeah.
of the trail construction?
It's an 80-20 grant, so. it's
80-20.
And the 20% is coming, there's 25,000 from a
Another
Healthcare
grant.
Foundation of LaPorte grant, and the other 35 you'll seek from Healthcare Foundation?
Yep.
Or from another source?
So of the 60, so about 60,000 is our 20%,
Yeah.
of which
Yes.
just 25 will be
25,000
after, okay.
from Healthcare Foundation.
And when are we doing that for the Healthcare Foundation?
We'll need the money spring of next year, so we'll make that request with the next grant cycle.
And when will any construction begin? Will begin,
Spring of-
Next year?
Spring of 2022.
okay.
So with that, just kind of thinking through the topography there,
Yeah.
will it be, it'll remain a two-lane road, street, right? So will we dig, I mean, I think it starts, there's like a hill right there, right off
Yeah,
the road.
yeah.
So will we basically
They'll have to-
dig into that?
The entire trail is going to be ADA accessible, so it'll go essentially on the back side of the beach parking lot. Sorry, David.
Yeah.
I helped kind of put together the grant. So on the back side of the beach parking lot, it'll run along the beach, tie into where the kayak launch is. So you can see where the kayak launch, there's a wider section, so that's actually one tiny little piece of the trail. We'll go in front of Cummings Lodge, next
Between
to
the
the
Cummings Lodge
T-ball
and the lake,
fields.
or the other side?
Oh, other side.
Okay.
Stone Lake, not
Parking.
Pine Lake, I think.
Correct.
Yeah.
Between the parking and Cummings Lodge. And then it'll go next to the T-ball fields, through the woods, and end at a trailhead.
It'll be up,
It'll
not
be up,
road,
not,
okay.
yeah,
got it.
it'll be up,
Okay.
not down by the water.
Okay.
You'll have views of the lake from up there, but it won't be water level. It'll be
A road level, street level there. Okay, very,
So
thank
then
you.
from Cummings to the beach parking lot,
Yes.
it'll be roadside.
It'll be roadside with some sort of protection, so similar to what we have on the other sections.
Okay. Further questions? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you, David. Nick Minnick.
And this actually was signed yesterday, so just more for informational purposes. At the last meeting, we had the sale of property to LaPorte County for the County Road 150 and Lofgren Road project. We were able to get all of the language requested by our legal department into that, and everything looks good, so that will be finalized with the signatures the mayor put on yesterday, I believe.
So we'll still have an approval, though, of this?
It was already approved last time.
So we can just do a,
There's nothing to do, I think.
Just informational at this point.
thank you.
But we maintain an easement on this property, is that correct?
Correct.
Jerry Jackson.
First item is Monroe Manor pay request number 1. That's an amount of $352,202.40 to HRP Construction. That's 11%, so it's pay request number 1, so we're just getting going. That's been reviewed, I've reviewed it, and our engineers reviewed it. There aren't any issues, I'd recommend payment.
Have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
On the next 2 items are part of the Lakeside project. I skipped over I'm out of order here, but anyways, the sump pump and the grinder work should have been additional items for Lakeside relocation. Those items, I'm gonna ask that the engineer add those to the project, so it shows up as a change order and shows up in the overall contract documents. The two items were a 2-inch sump drain that we got into when we were putting a new sewer through a house for $2,785, and then the lateral sewers for 3 houses along the shoreline were unexpectedly deep, and they had to bring in a bigger machine, and there was a lot of extra time and expense. That came to $12,335. So those 2 items I'd ask the board to approve as a change order to Lakeside, to the Lakeside project.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? So this work has all been completed?
It has, yes. And then pay request number 7.
Oh, we have to approve.
Oh, I'm
these.
sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
Further discussion?
Are we still within budget then with these
Yes,
change orders?
we're at, I sent that email out and I didn't bring it with me. I think we're at 4.7%, contingent, or change orders now amount to 4.7% of the project, and we had 10% allowance for budget.
Oh, you're right. I'm looking at your email now. I printed and brought it with me, 4.3% of the 1.6 million
okay.
job.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep,
Was that depth difference something that we just didn't realize up front? Is that,
on these 2?
yeah,
One was they had a bunch of sump pumps in the basement to keep the groundwater out of the, and we didn't know that that line was not located. We didn't know about how it was connected. So during installation, we got into it, and that needed to be repaired. On the additional depth, we knew the depth of the sewer main. We didn't know the depth of each lateral coming over and connecting in. And these, instead of staying shallow and connecting in, went deep and stayed deep. And so we wound up installing these pump stations deeper than expected. And you're down in the groundwater, and the soils are awful, and it gets really messy and difficult very quickly, and when you're working on the lakeshore like that.
But the dollars are available, which is
Yep.
most important. So I do have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, and then we've got pay request number 7 in the amount of $191,568.51. That brings us to 97% of the job. We've still got retainage, of course, in-house. The lift station is, that was the last bit of work to be done. That's almost complete. We're still waiting on generator. The generator's been delivered, but it's not been connected to gas, waiting on NIPSCO for that. So we're just almost done with the job. They've gone through, I think, all the punch list items. And nice, this was a tough job. It's nice to see it in the rearview mirror. So I'd recommend approval of pay request number 7.
So moved.
Second.
I have a
I'm sorry.
motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
And then we're going to move forward on the contract
On McClung?
on McClung, Jerry?
I'm sorry.
On McClung Road?
Okay, we're ready for that. Okay.
Pre-treatment first, though.
On pre-treatment, we've got a permit renewal for Harrison Aircraft. They're a long-term customer. They've never had violations of their discharge permit. They're going through some changes right now. I'm not sure what their future exactly is going to be, but I'd recommend approval of their pre-treatment permit.
Have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. When you say changes,
They're talking about shutting down. They have difficulty getting employees right now, and the company's been around a long time. They're looking perhaps for a buyer. We get involved at this state of the game because there's potentially a cleanup in a plating operation. So Matt Amor is on top of that, making sure that that's done properly. So yeah, this is a part of pre-treatment you don't often see when you're watching to make sure that cleanup's done properly and everything's closed properly.
so if this business were to close, sell, obviously based on Heart of LaPorte plan and what we want to do with the overpass coming, probably not a good site for the future of Harrison. If we were to look at this now, I'll ask Mr. Minnick if you'd like to add on to that. We're closing the street by them, correct?
Well, we're closing it at the railroad tracks. The street remains open. It doesn't have a crossing at the railroad tracks. So the access will not change per se off of Detroit. It just won't have a crossing at the tracks there. We are starting to see the last holdouts of industrial type activity in that area starting to think about if that's the right area for them. So that's just something we've been seeing over the last 5, 10, 15 years. So it's all things change, and things change.
Well, there is an opportunity then with the Heart of LaPorte plan to develop and take a fresh look at that area. So I do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Jerry Jackson, McClung Road sanitary bids.
The Selge was the low bidder on that project. Their bid was, for the base bid, their bid was in the amount of $219,329.70. The alternative bid items totaled $394,958,020. We didn't find any math errors. I have not approached Selge on the contents of the letter from the FFC. I'll do that. The other issue, this project came in substantially over budget. We've got some price line items in here that are, COVID has cranked up prices in a lot of construction. So I'm gonna look at the scope of this project and have a discussion with Selge can we get down to the core of the project and just do what we need to support the current development and perhaps some of the customers who are really needing sewer service soon. So I'd ask the board to approve Selge's bid, subject to legal review of the bid format and giving me direction to renegotiate the scope with Selge to bring it within our funding.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, so discussion, and again, from a legal perspective, you'll look into this apprentice claim, the concerns. We'll look at that.
If I may, Jerry, how were they on the Lakeside project to work with?
Their crews are very good. They do good work. They know what they're doing. This work is right up their alley. I mean, this is what they do best. So, yeah, they're a good contractor.
So just confirm the legal perspective. Is our goal, though, Jerry, to run the sewer to VFW? How far north?
Well, VFW's got need, so does the Eagles, and of course, where there's a proposed development right there. So those I think would be the prime customers we would try to serve. The contract is in the form of a unit contract. So if we can say, okay, instead of building 50 of these, we want to build 25, and it just changes the multiplication in the contract. So it should be a straightforward discussion with Selge if we decide to change the scope.
But with the cost, will we still be able to reach as far north as we wanted to go?
I would like to build the whole job, but I'll see if we can afford to get the rest. I've also contacted Baker Tilly and say, hey, how does this fit in our capital budget if we're going to spend more money than we anticipate?
And how can we make it work?
Yep.
Because I just happened to see the lake right along there,
Fish Trap?
Fish Trap Lake, the foundation is up on some of the condos. So that was a surprise on Sunday, driving by and seeing it. So that work is coming. I assume they're going to want to connect, so.
Sure. Yeah, it's a needed project.
And are we still asking some of those organizations to help fund?
Some of the alternative bid items are the cost to go from the main sewer over to their property. So those are line items that they can use to pay for their piece of this job.
So they will be doing that. And any help you need to talk to them, you let me know. We'll
Appreciate it.
We'll get there.
I mean, any opportunity here for any in-house work, or is this really kind of beyond the scope of
It's-
in-house what we'd be able to accomplish?
The majority of it's directional drilling, and that's not something we have in-house. So not too much in this case.
It doesn't sound though like the labor is the issue. It's really the cost of the materials because of COVID and getting those materials. So while the bid's at 219, you're trying to keep it at or under that, but you're likely going to do less, correct?
Yeah, correct.
So I do have a motion and a second. Further discussion?
I have one other question on these complaints. Is this like a whistleblower thing? Is this
No, it's
an
just
organization that always looks over all the
And
contracts?
she's here, Marcy's here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a normal thing, common.
Correct, it's a nonprofit. Correct.
We've had one of these before us, I believe, right?
Regarding Selge, if I recall correct.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. We talked about that.
I must not have been present for that one. I don't remember it.
I just would like to see whatever we can do to extend to finish that job at the same time would be great. I understand the
Absolutely.
cost,
Absolutely.
but this is important. So with that, all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Okay, I here have in front of me, I will go through this briefly as a part of our process. It is time now for the budget. This is the budget process of being approved. As Board of Works, even though you do not have a vote, I just want to share what is public, what is information that you can find on our website. Number one, Courtney Parthune, deputies Joni Lehman, Ashley Knoll have done an amazing job on this budget. I'm going to give them a little, let's all give them a little love. They've done a great job. This will be Joni's 23rd and final budget, and Ashley Knoll's first, so we can't thank Joni Lehman enough for all her work and what she's done here. So I'm going to briefly go through this. Oops, not that brief. Our overview will be to look at the budget challenges, priorities, which are investing in our people, working towards a structurally balanced budget, and improving our infrastructure, a quick breakdown by department, future goals, and questions. So number one, what we face today is going to be another year due to the tax caps. The city of LaPorte, just to put in comparison, because of lack of growth, we see a much higher loss in circuit breakers, estimated at 3.1 or 25.6 percent of our budget. If you look at Lebanon, and I was just talking with Lebanon, very similar community size-wise, they lose $50,000 to the circuit breakers. And did I cross? Sorry, I must have did that again. So also, we had a catch-up basically on net assessed value by two of our largest manufacturers, which will reduce our assessment by $21 million. The legislature's primary focus in this next short session is either the reduction or elimination of business personal property tax. That's going to be a $175 million loss statewide estimated. And obviously, most likely, will impact the city of LaPorte because of our large manufacturing base. So also reduction in dollars. And again, this is great for business, difficult for local government. And then due to COVID, we'll see a decrease in local income tax. So our budget priorities, investing in our people. We've heard that, and we've seen firsthand here, we have to compete with other private entities, other cities, and so we committed $725,000 in wage increases citywide. We are also longevity outside of fire and police. We believe that people should be paid and evaluated on their performance, not just for showing up. And so we will have the opportunity for people that are working to receive increases based on their performance. We will look to address that with police and fire in the following year. As well, working towards a structurally balanced budget. We're not going to be deficit spending, and as you can see, and great thanks to Courtney Parthoon for leading this. The general fund is the first structurally balanced budget we've had there in that fund for the first time since 2015. And you're also going to see a shift to committing to financial accountability within our departments, especially in areas of park-related, such as the Civic Auditorium, Beechwood, transport, where we're not going to spend more than we have being generated from events, revenues, whatever they may be. And then improving our infrastructure, maximizing dollars, technology to improve our roads and sidewalks. We get several calls every single day about our roads, our sidewalks. We have to begin looking at, in which we are, at new technology, different technology for our roads to maximize every penny that we have coming in. And then, as the council supported last year, continuing our investment in water and wastewater. And I know Jerry is king of Monroe Manor. We got to find a king hat for Tim somewhere in the future here. This is just something that it's important to our employees that they recognize that basically to whatever pay schedule they're on, we have to add about another 30% to that in benefits that the city pays for. One example is the PERF employer and employee contribution that the city of LaPorte pays at 100%. The employees do not pay a dime, anything for that. So as you look, the clerk treasurer's office, these are some of the budgets that I won't go through each one. The mayor's, the council, I will try to point out a couple of items that in the clerk treasurer's budget, you will see there was an increase, and that is because we are upgrading our payroll system from pencil and paper, which a corporation or an entity our size should have a professional payroll system. Courtney, if you want to discuss that briefly.
So Yes, we have budgeted for a new payroll system that will integrate with an HRIS system. Some departments have pieces of this right now, but we're hoping future date that the time and attendance portion, scheduling portion, tracking vacation, tracking PTO, all of that stuff, all of that will just integrate right into payroll and be seamless and efficient and free up some time for the admins to do other items that are necessary. And it's just gonna streamline payroll. It'll be a self-service portal for employees to go log on by themselves and get their pay stubs instead of having to pick up a paper pay stub from their department head every payroll or get it emailed to them. Their W-2s will be right on there. We get requests all the time. Dana can vouch for that. You know, if people are doing some sort of, if people need their pay stub for whatever reason, we literally have to go in and reprint it off for them. So the system will free up our payroll administrators' time. It'll create tons of efficiency within the city of LaPorte, and State Board of Accounts will love it.
So many of these are just basically similar to, again, looking for some increases for pay wherever we can. Board of Works, Board of Zoning, Plan Commission, very small. Human Resources, same. City Hall, which unfortunately, as old as this building is, takes some maintenance dollars and so forth. Historic Preservation, City Attorney, as I said last night, we pay too much. But we love them. He's an important part of our team. Engineering, and you'll see here, this is basically a realignment of some of the office staff. If you remember last year, Jeff Batchelor from Code Enforcement gave up an additional position for code. As much as we loved it, we knew engineering department, Nick Minnick needed another individual. So that was the realignment. Communications stays the same. And then code enforcement, you'll see a reduction based on that individual moving over from code to engineering. And then I think what fire department and police department are important to recognize is the council and this administration did what we said we would do. Last year, we understand that we were, if not the lowest paid public safety units, we were second to the lowest. So we made a commitment to raise salaries of those individuals on the streets, with the commitment that we would also increase the upper echelon of leadership in each of those departments this year. So we did what we said we're going to do, and this includes those increases to fire and police. Fire merit, again, small amounts of dollars, not really much change. Transit, you're going to see, again, we roughly spend $150,000 out of our general budget to provide transport and transportation to those individuals on rates and fees that have not been raised since 2009. Beth West and I, and especially Beth West, we are working on, really going after this from a business perspective as its own little entity, and how can we generate other dollars and revenue as we cannot continue to provide that $150,000 to transit and could be used for other things if they can generate the dollars themselves. We're excited about that. Beth is excited, and she has done a fabulous job so far taking over. City planning, again, basically the same. We do have one person to hire between planning and engineering that will help with the redevelopment commission and other commissions as well. And we have our eye on a few people that kind of could be excited about. Park and Rec, we can't ask all these new developments in our parks and not be able to maintain them. So we also have, especially in laborers, you're going to see increases to the individuals that are out maintaining our parks. And then we'll move to Beechwood and Civic. Again, when we talk about entities having to be self-sustaining. These are the first two that you will see. Beechwood, the opportunity with the donation from the Lux of that 55 acres of property at Beechwood Lakes. We have a real potential for developing something special, incorporating Beechwood Lakes with Beechwood Golf Course and potential housing, maybe even a bistro, changing some holes around. It could be fantastic for the future. And then streets, obviously you see we've got streets. We are looking at new ways to do things with our street department, and we'll continue to move forward on that. And then seed it basically